Today, they have been forced to take down 91% of the entire site. They went from 56 million pieces of content in 2020 to 5.2 million pieces of content today, in what Financial Times has called probably the biggest takedown of content in internet history. There was a study done that was published in the British Journal of Criminology, and they analyzed the home pages of these sites. And when you get onto Pornhub, there's about 50 videos that you will see that if you scroll over, they autoplay. And they found that 1 in 8 of those videos was displaying sexual violence, videos that would include non-consent. And I think that is just so alarming that is the reality that we're living in today.
Did you know that one of the world's largest platforms has been accused of enabling unspeakable crimes? And now, after a massive takedown of over 90% of its content, the fight for justice is far from over. Stick around as we uncover the shocking truth about this ongoing battle and what it means for our society. Welcome to the Revo Review. I'm Vince Revo.
2011, the Canadian Parliament passed a law that if a internet content hosting service provider came across issues of child abuse online, that they had a legal obligation to report to the police.
Your brief claims that you report child sexual abuse materials to Nekamic.
That's correct.
Can you confirm that there were no reports from Pornhub or MindGeek to Nekamic in 2019?
At this point, they were manually done. They weren't automatically done. So they were done ad hoc as we were made aware of them. We would send them off. What we did in 2020. Then
in 2019, there were no reports of CSAM to Nekamic from either MindGeek or Pornhub. Can you confirm that?
No, at this juncture, I don't have that information handy.
There were 0 reports from MindGeek or Pornhub. Not only that, we have evidence of their senior community manager telling a user online publicly who had said there's child pornography all over Pornhub. What do I do? And she actually said, you do not need to report it to the authorities, just report it to us.
Let's dive into the Trafficking Hub movement. This is not just an online campaign. It's a global outcry against corporate entities profiting from exploitation. What started with over 2.3 million signatures on a petition has become a movement to hold Pornhub accountable, not just for hosting adult content, but for enabling and profiting from illegal activities like child abuse, trafficking, and criminal image-based sexual abuse. The goal isn't vague reforms. It's about shutting down a site described as a crime scene, where countless victims' traumas are immortalized online. Imagine the lifelong pain of knowing your worst moment is being viewed and monetized daily by millions. This isn't just about morality at this point. It's about justice for the victims and accountability for corporations. And the shocking scale of the problem is something you might not even believe. The statistics are jaw-dropping.
You can go a little bit higher. December
4, 2020.
2020. Okay,
yes.
So Pornhub prides itself on being the cheery, winking face of naughty, the website billboard at Times Square, and provides snowplows to Boston. Okay, great. Next, the supposedly wholesome Pornhub attracts 3.5 billion visits a month, more than Netflix, Yahoo, or Amazon. This is when Yahoo was relevant that you would even mention it. Pornhub rakes in money from almost 3 billion ad impressions a day. One ranking lists Pornhub as the 10th most visited website in the world. And then as you go lower, you'll see this. Yet another side of the company, its site is infested with rape videos. It monetizes child rape, revenge pornography, spy cam videos of women showering, racist and misogynist content, footage of women being asphyxiated in plastic bags, a search for girls under 18, no space, or 14YO, no space, leads in each case to more than 100,000 videos. Most aren't of children assaulted, but too many are. After a 15-year-old girl went missing in Florida, her mother found her on Pornhub, and 58 sex videos, sexual assaults on a 14-year-old California girl were posted on Pornhub and were reported to authorities. I can go on and on reading this entire article. It's very disturbing.
At its peak, Pornhub had 56 million videos on its platform, attracting over 170 million visits a day. After public pressure and exposés like the New York Times article, the children of Pornhub, 91% of its content was taken down. And this is an unprecedented move in the internet's history. This takedown is a victory, yes, but it also reveals just how much unregulated and harmful content exists unchecked for years. The fact that videos depicting child abuse and trafficking were so prevalent raises serious questions about oversight and corporate responsibility. This isn't just about one platform, it's a systemic problem across all the internet. So, accountability and the fight ahead. Before we move on, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Your engagement keeps this conversation alive, and we value your input.
Because Pornhub is actually owned by MindGeek, which is based in Canada. And Canadian Parliament called in MindGeek executives to testify before an ethics committee about the exploitation and abuse happening on their platform. It was like an unprecedented step in the global recognition of the exploitation happening on pornography platforms, and led to some really fascinating and disturbing testimony, including discovering that for about 10 years, Pornhub was not reporting child sexual abuse materials that were uploaded onto its website, not reporting that to the police when they learned that it was happening. So yeah, so I mean, there's been so much happening.
Is it fair to say that Pornhub empire is beginning to crumble? And if so, what can we do to hasten that crumbling?
I do believe it's beginning to crumble. You know, the MasterCard is no longer operating with them, and Unilever and Kraft Heinz and Roku, all mainstream companies that had connections to Pornhub in one way or another, have cut ties, distanced themselves. At the same time, probably the most impactful thing is survivors speaking out, but also turning to civil litigation.
Now, accountability is the next step. It's not enough to remove content. We need to see criminal prosecutions. In December 2023, the US federal government charged Pornhub for its role in profiting from trafficking victims. This is a critical precedent, but the fight is not over. If corporations face no real consequences, they'll continue to exploit loopholes. Justice demands more than fines or PR fixes. It requires a legal reckoning to deter future abuse. The stakes are even higher with AI and virtual reality advancing. The potential for exploitation is growing, and we must act now to set firm legal and ethical boundaries.
Today, they have been forced to take down 91% of the entire site. They went from 56 million pieces of content in 2020 to 5.2 million pieces of content today, in what Financial Times has called probably the biggest takedown of content in internet history.
So let's talk about prevention and education. The issue isn't just about punishing corporations. It's about educating the next generation. As parents, educators, and community leaders, we need to talk openly about exploitation, consent, and digital safety. Ignoring these conversations doesn't protect our kids. It leaves them vulnerable.
When this movement to hold Pornhub accountable for globally distributing and monetizing countless videos of child sexual abuse, rape, sex trafficking, and other forms of non-consensual criminal image-based sexual abuse.
And we also need policies that enforce strict regulations across all platforms. If one site is shut down, traffickers and exploiters will just mitigate to another site. A comprehensive approach is essential to protect the most vulnerable and create a culture of accountability in this digital age that we live in. And the Bible tells us to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and the helpless and see that they get justice. So the battle is far from over, but together we can be a voice for the voiceless. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep speaking up. Your voice matters. God bless you.